All right, ladies and gentlemen, last video for you guys to watch me before you write your Satomer. It is how to write your Satomer. Again, you've written many, but here is the last one that you're going to write for me. Okay? And that has to do with your Roman topic. So, if you remember from the last one you watched, I did religion in ancient Rome. Well, here are those notes I took, my Cornell notes. And they look pretty good. Everything I want is in there. And I'm going to open up the Satomer. Now, up above there, it says essential question. That is definitely something you have to figure out. So we are going to take a look at what I have. My questions are, what was the Roman religion like in early Rome? My second question was, why did the Romans hate the Christians? And my third question is, how did Constantine bring Christianity to the Roman Empire? So what do all three of those questions have in common? And that truly is what your essential question has to be. What do those three questions have in common? How can we bring them together so they make sense? Well, they're all about religion, and they're all about Rome, and they're all about change, aren't they? They started with polytheism, and then they went to Christianity. And why did they go to Christianity, right? So I came up with, what changes did religion go through in ancient Rome? That's what I have up there, my essential question. So you'll notice that my notes are done, and now I'm actually writing my essential question when I'm done, because I have all of my notes that tend to make sense now. All right, let's move on from there. Let's go over here to my Satomer. All right, Satomer, I got to write a 14-point double-spaced with a hook sentence, and a link sentence. Yep. And then a thesis paragraph, that goes in my thesis. Then, of course, I need my subclaim with my citation paragraph, subclaim citation paragraph, subclaim paragraph with citation, and conclusion paragraph, and a bibliography. Okay, I can do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to copy it, and I am going to paste it. All right. Now remember, I'm going to change that into a statement to make that my thesis, but I'll do that a little bit later. All right, let's get to work. Let's take a look at what this looks like. All right, well, I kind of wrote it already, but that's okay. So the first thing I would do if I was you is I would go through and grab this bad boy right here, and I would copy it, and I would paste it right here. So it looks just like this. All right? But now we need to do a little work to it. I want you to have a lead sentence. And your lead sentence, or sentences if you will, are going to be the first sentence or sentences there. So if I go back here, I'm looking at this. I'm going to put this down before I jump into my citation. I'm going to let the reader kind of know what the paragraph is about before I give my first citation. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to jump right in here, and I'm going to put, and I haven't changed anything, just going right off my summary, but now I'm going to put in my first citation. According to worldhistory.org, and I go right into what I already have. And then I'm going to jump in with my next source, because I want the reader to know, instead of front-loading everything with worldhistory.org and youtube.com and everything else is about that, I really want to start being pretty mindful about where the information I'm getting comes from. And literally this part right here, this only comes from my world history, that and the above lead sentence. This part here about Constantine, or excuse me, about the next part about the Greek religion, them taking the Greek religion, that comes from the YouTube clip on Constantine. And I'm going to bring that up again in my third paragraph. So I want the reader to know that's where this information comes from. So I've separated it. And then, of course, my understanding of evidence. It's already there. I don't have to do anything. But I am going to make it red because red lets me know that's my first subclaim. I'm going to do the exact same thing to my second one. I'm going to go here. This one's a little bigger. I'm going to grab that bad boy just like that. I'm going to throw it on the paper. It's going to look just like this. Right? I'm going to use that first sentence. So I'm going to go here, right to enormous risks. And I'm going to use that as my lead. Yep, right there to risks. Then I'm going to throw in my website. Citation, the website, www.pbs.org. And again, I'm just using the short version. I'm not using backslash or any of that. I didn't do it here and I didn't do it there. And then all of this actually comes from that. I'll use one source here. It was actually a really good source. So that's all the stuff I found about why the early Christians why the early Romans hated Christianity. Everything comes from that source. Then I have my understanding of evidence. And since I only have one source, I just need one source. Doesn't matter if I front load it because everything comes from there, right? Okay. And of course, finally, we're going to go here. We're going to grab. We're going to do the exact same thing we've done up above. I made this purple because my second subclaim is purple. And then, of course, I have my last subclaim, which is orange, because orange is the color of our last subclaim. That's why it's a cetomer. I'm going to go with my lead sentence, which, just like I showed you before, I'm going to start right here. And this is going to be my first sentence, my lead sentence. Then I'll drop in my first source, mrdon.org, and everything I got from him came from here. I'm being very mindful about what I've grabbed. And then I'm going to go back to that Constantine video that I grabbed from my first subclaim. I'm going to drop that there because this was a good video. I found this in there. And this really kind of explains what he did after he became Christian, which is really good for my question. All right. Now the reader knows that's where that part came from. And now I'm going to explain. Here's what all this means, just like it has in my summary. Okay, so my 3 summaries are done. I got a couple things I have to do. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a hook. And I'm going to ask a question. Well, my whole thing is about something that people didn't like that later did like, right? They didn't like the Christians, but then later they loved Christianity. That's what I came up with in my third subclaim. So my question is this. And remember, in a hook, you can pick 4 different things of doing it. I'm picking this one, a question. Have you ever hated something only to love it so much that you couldn't live without it? Well, my link sentence. Now I'm going to link this, which is just kind of a random question. I'm going to link it to my topic, which is what the second part of this is. My link sentence. In ancient Rome, the Romans started out hating Christianity in favor of polytheism. And then they changed to Christianity and couldn't live without it. And I realize I need to capitalize that C on Christianity. There we go. Okay. So I got my hook and my link done. So my first 2 sentences of my thesis paragraph are done. Now I need my thesis, right? I need my thesis. And of course, my thesis is my essential question turned into a statement. My essential question turned into a statement. The religion of ancient Rome went through a couple of changes. That's my thesis. This whole paper better be about Roman religion going through changes. And it is. My first subclaim, red sentence, Rome was polytheistic and believed in many gods. That is a short little take, a short blurb on what all this is, isn't it? My next one, Christians were murdered and persecuted for their beliefs. That is a short little blurb about what all that's about. And of course, my last subclaim. Constantine wasn't a Christian until something changed him forever. Well, that's going to make me want to read, right? And yep, that is a summary of all this. And look at that. In no time at all, we wrote our thesis paragraph. It has our hook, our link, our thesis, and our sub 1, sub 2, and sub 3. This right here is what the entire paper is about in a nutshell. Then, of course, I explain, and now I conclude. And as we talked about before, in conclusion, we let the reader know we're done, but we add nothing new. In conclusion, Rome started out believing in spirits and gods. Christianity was influenced. Everyone was influenced by Christianity. Christians were murdered by the hundreds, or for hundreds of years. Christians were murdered for hundreds of years until Constantine came and made it okay and turned Christianity popular in Rome. Okay, I added nothing new. Everything I said here is in direct summary of everything I've written here. Add nothing new here. This is all just explaining what I've already talked about. And then, of course, I do my EasyBib, bibliography through EasyBib. Here's everything I got and where it came from, right there. And this is a complete Satomer. And this is what you are going to write. And for those of you guys making a documentary, this is your script. And for those of you kids that are making a live action film, you are going to take this and turn this into your film by adding your own words to it. But this is the framework of what your movie is. All right? If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.